Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 0 of Mark Experience's very first D&D campaign on our actual play show. We're finally a proper D&D podcast, you guys.
Only took us, 2.5 years or whatever?
Yeah, I felt a little bit bad about putting 20 minutes of world building and lore explanation at the beginning of Bypass System, so we're not going to do that again. In the future, I will be striving to set up episode zeros for all of the seasons and the campaigns that I'm in charge of. If you're not interested in hearing a brief synopsis, some world building and overview about what the cultures are and what characters the players will be playing, this isn't for you, and you don't have to listen to it. It's not mandatory, and that's totally okay. We are going to be playing a D&D campaign called Pillar Arisen that is in my own setting on the world of Almora. We will be playing mostly on one continent called Taurius. Basically, the concept of the game is that this is the aftermath of a evil campaign. Basically, what happened was a team of evil adventurers went into hell and killed Asmodeus, and they set themselves up as the new rulers of hell, and they engaged in this massive war that killed almost all of the remaining gods in this world, and the ones that weren't killed, they fled. And the war was so massive and so destructive that it basically completely changed the landscape and altered how almost every single culture functions. So if you're here for classic Tolkien-style dwarves, orcs, and elves, I'm afraid we're not going to have that.
Hey, stop telling our fans to go away.
I'm sorry.
Tell them what they're here for.
Yeah, if you like unique cultures, if you like sky dwarves that mine lightning out of clouds,
Hell yeah.
if you like party elves, and if you like unique, mysterious gods and a fallen post-apocalypse fantasy setting, then this is definitely going to be a fun D&D game for you. If you've been less interested in our other seasons because we've been playing games that you haven't heard of or haven't played before, we're playing D&D, which I think most people that play actual play podcasts on their phone will recognize. So basically, we're going to be on one of the main continents on the planet, which is Taurius. And on Taurius, there are like 6 main factions. I'm just going to go over some world building stuff and everything, and then we'll introduce everybody's characters. The 2 biggest and main kingdoms are the Kingdom of Libitina, which is this large Camelot-esque, like paladin-filled, sword and sorcery, lawful good, big nation. Well, I say lawful good. And they kind of are positioned as the Camelot of this world, and they take up a large portion of the north, and their rivals, which is Grayscale, which is a kingdom founded by a collection of dragons, takes up a large portion of the south. And both of these 2 kingdoms blame each other for the war and the death of all the gods and hell being under new management. Both claim that it was the other one's fault.
I would like to say that essentially the one that Riley keeps going saying, oh, this is the Camelot of the world, is just Riley being on his Arthurian knight bullshit.
Yeah, I am a very big fan of Arthurian lore and Camelot and stuff, so if you like takes of King Arthur and Guinevere, but maybe Guinevere is a big hot orc lady, that's here. That's what this is. In the center of the continent, we have the Orchard Diaspora. the Orchard Diaspora was founded by halflings who lost their home. If you want to think about it, imagine if the Shire exploded one day and halflings had to move elsewhere and figure out a whole new culture and everything. There was this big, horrible cataclysm. The halfling home of Orchard was completely destroyed, leaving this massive pit in the continent that just goes straight down, and killed all of the plant life in the farmlands in the surrounding area in the center of the continent, which is one of the main reasons why Libitina and Grayscale haven't just full-on gone to war, because there's this big, like, scarred area in the middle of the continent that makes it difficult to travel, that is full of very, very angry halflings. They've formed a nomadic society where they live with gnolls, goblins, and centaurs, and they all live together in this big Orchard Diaspora because they all lost something really important to them in the war, and don't have a home anymore. And so they've banded together and roam the deserts of the center of the continent and work together to help these cultures survive. Up north past Libitina, we have Refuge, which is the new home of dwarves and gnomes. The war made the Underdark even more notoriously uninhabitable than it is in normal D&D lore. And so basically, as a whole, the world decided that it was just better to seal off the entirety of the Underdark and leave it be. So dwarves, gnomes, and all of the other subterranean races like the drow and kobolds, everything like that, they all left and moved up as far as they could. The dwarves and the gnomes basically climbed up these mountains, but they were so terrified of what lay beneath their feet that once they reached the top of the mountains, they felt that they had to keep going. And they formed a new skyfaring society with other, like, bird folk, like Aarakocra and Kenku, and other smart races that were willing to lend their magic and their know-how to others in order to escape the war-torn planet below. And so they formed the Nation of Refuge. Other than that, we just have the Feyborn city-states, which are a collection of these massive walled-off city-states founded by the elves. When the war started and got particularly bad, the High Elves and their isolationist policies leaked to the other elves, and they convinced elf society as a whole to stay out of the war and just go into these massive citadels that they built for themselves, build these massive walls, and just wall themselves off from the rest of the world for all eternity. As they were escaping, other races from the Feywild, or that are descended from the Feywild, begged to be taken along with them, like satyrs and firbolgs and other races like that, and they convinced the elves to take them with them, and now they live in these series of these massive citadels that almost no one ever leaves. And then the last faction on our map is in the very south in a series of red tropical islands called the Red Isles, which are a series of small tropical islands that sit in a blood-red ocean that sits on a torn area of the plane that leaks demons and devils from hell on a constant basis. Think Japan with kaiju. This is fantasy like Japan, except instead of Godzilla, it's like Orcus bursting from the waters with an army of undead. And so a huge portion of the tiefling population moved to the Red Isles, half of them to stick it to their fiendish heritage and fight back their parents, and the other half to support their fiendish heritage and help their demon daddies into the material plane to mess stuff up.
Don't say it like that.
And they live a endless weird war against the Hell Kaiju.
Riley, don't say it like that.
No, I'm saying it exactly like that.
No! Why must you hurt me in this way?
So those are the main 6 nations. Libitina and Grayscale are the 2 big ones. that we're going to be focusing on. The party has decided that they would like to start in the Dragon Run nation of Grayscale, so we'll be starting in a city named Xandria that is on the border of Grayscale and the Red Isles. So that's where we'll be starting. As for the gods of this world, the pantheon looks almost entirely different. The entirety of the world all worships one patchwork pantheon that has been formed out of the 9 surviving gods that have been left over after the war. And as a side effect of these gods being promoted to greater gods because there's literally no one else, them absorbing the domains of different fallen deities and them being worshipped by every culture and every race, they have all become incredibly powerful, so much so that they can interfere on the material plane actively as much as they want. But also they've become incredibly mercurial, where each different nation has a different way that they see the gods, and the gods have different ways of appearing to their followers to those. So, like, the elves may worship one god as an elf, where the halflings might see that god as a halfling, and both versions are accurate. The pantheon, as it exists now, is Godric, who is the god of war, heroes, and strength. Sylph, who is the god of nature, music, passion, and fairies. Osmaldus, who is the god of sky, travel, and knowledge. The couple, which is a married conglomerate deity that represent love, family, civilization, and fertility. The 2 goddesses of magic, Corinda, who represents magic and order, magic as a arcane science and as a force that you break down and use to bring order to the world, and then Mariella, who represents magic as a force of nature that cannot be controlled, destruction, chaos, the world as a place where volcanoes erupt and forests move around, all sorts of stuff like that. That's what they represent. The god of the sun is named Halo, and the god of the moon and the ocean is named Arwel. And the very last god, and the newest god, who's only been alive for 300 years, is the young child god of death, Enoch, who is the son of Mariella and was recently born to take over the death domain after the last god of death that survived the war finally perished from their wounds that they suffered. And as I mentioned earlier, the gods are a very big, important part of this setting, and so we will be talking about which gods the different players subscribe to and how they feel about them. Past that, we're also using a different custom-made cosmology that I wrote by myself. It's very similar to Yggdrasil or the World Tree. Basically, the way that Almora views the planes is that all planes are stacked on top of each other in this giant massive pillar or tower, similar to the World Tree, with the material plane at the very center. And then as you move up, the planes give way to more positive energy and celestial beings and beings that are metaphors and elemental that represent things in the world like gravity or fire. And then as you go down, you go into the planes that are influenced by negative energy and the breaking down of concepts. Like you get the Shadowfell, you get like the afterlife and hell and everything at the very, very bottom. Okay. I think that's all of the really brief basics, and it's only been 14 minutes.
Yes. And for the listeners, yes, this is the brief version. We have the documents all in front of us. We've skipped over maybe 15 documents.
Yeah.
I did my very best to be very brief and simplistic, and I know that Jamie is going to work her editing magic and make it all make sense and sound good.
I mean, you did the best you could, considering you made this.
I gave myself 2 challenges for this. One, I wanted every single published playable race by Wizards of the Coast to be playable in this world, so that no matter what, whatever my players came to with me and said I would like to play this race, it would be allowed. And 2, I did not want to use established D&D lore, because D&D lore is kind of like it. I love D&D, but sometimes D&D lore can be dumb.
Riley sent a message saying, guys, D&D lore is like bad because of how messy it is.
There's so many planes.
I can't wait for the lunch break. We should just have a section of the lunch break that's Riley ranting about D&D lore.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you about the Orc Pantheon and how it's half gods of war,
Oh my
or
gosh.
war equivalents.
Not right now. That's for the lunch break.
He already ranted to me about the Orcish gods, and it went on for an hour.
It's very frustrating. It's fine. There are too many planes. That's fine. Anyway. Okay, do you guys want to roll initiative for who introduces their character first?
Okay.
Oh, damn.
Does that sound fun?
You know what I forgot? Dice.
Me pulling out my dice.
I would also like to say, we all started playing tabletop games through D&D. I think just like most people that play, D&D was our introduction. And it was one of the games that I actually DM'd the most, and I feel that I know how to run really well. So in a way, we're going to something that makes us all that we all understand and makes us comfortable. So I'm very excited about that.
Guys, I rolled a nat 20.
Oh, shit. Okay.
First roll of the day.
That's fantastic. Jamie, would you like to introduce your character?
I was like, Jamie's going first.
Okay. I am playing Kaya. She is a level 3 paladin, and she is a centaur. She is an Oath of the Watchers. Because of that, she follows Osmaldus, the god of traveling and knowledge and whatnot, and she keeps track of all the demons and whatnot coming through. I'm lawful neutral, etc. What else should I say about her? Well, description, clearly.
We can just talk a little bit about
a little bit of background?
what Kaya looks like, and then we can talk about the god that you worship.
So Kaya is a very large black stallion type horse, and she is very beautiful, dark skinned. She has shaved her head, and she has golden tattoos in the back of her head going down in this swirling pattern down her spine, down her back into a multi-winged bird on her back. And she also wears it's not full gold, because gold doesn't really protect you that well, but it has gold in it. You can tell because it's has a gold sheen to it. She has chainmail that is slightly yellowish gold that allows her to be able to show the tattoo on her back while still covering everything important up front. Should I say why she's out here?
Yeah, let's go over Kaya's backstory.
So Kaya is out here with the other 2 characters because she actually had a very interesting background. If I could have chosen 2 literal meta backgrounds for her, it would be Acolyte and some kind of guard background, but you can only choose one, so she's an Acolyte. But first of all, she wanted to protect people. She wanted to be a guard. She wanted to train. She's very physical, so she became a hired guard, and she would go on to hired missions to protect important people. And
this was especially important because you're from the diaspora.
Yeah. So after a bit, she's like, this is great and all, but it's not hitting all of the points that I want in my life. I don't feel satisfied. So she decided to become a scholar. And she went to a school. She learned a lot about different subjects and gods and all that. And it was great. Until a demon came along and burned the entire school down along with some of her friends.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. And then I joke about this, but it might also be in world real. But she just saw Oswaldus fly across the sky like Ho-Oh in the first episode of Pokemon. It was
Oh,
like,
no.
that bird.
That bird knows what's up.
But yeah, with Oswaldus stopping all of those creatures from coming through to other worlds, one of them being the ones that burned down her school, she put two and two together of both of her backgrounds of knowledge and fighting, and she is traveling the world trying to learn more and protect knowledge, and people count as knowledge, so she's trying to protect people when she can as she travels.
Yeah.
She's so good.
She is also still a hired guard.
She's so good compared to our bastard boys, Rowan.
Yeah. Osmaldus is generally depicted to be this massive snow white bird with blazing blue eyes and, depending on who you ask, either 6 or 8 wings. It's just this big, massive, legendary creature that flies across the sky and represents knowledge of the sense of going out there, seeing and seeing things and experiencing them for yourself. The Church of Osmaldus has this myth where, according to them, Osmaldus was originally a primordial air elemental that lived in the elemental chaos, and during the war tore open a portal through the plains, and its city, Cumulus, fell through, which is now the Citadel, the nation capital of Refuge. And because of that, and because Osmaldus being an extraplanar creature originally that understands the dangers of what the rest of the layers of the pillar represent, Osmaldus is very firmly against creatures from other planes interfering with the material plane, like elementals, fae, fiends, stuff like that. And that is the god that you follow.
Yeah! And I have a reason for following him.
Oh, also, all of the gods in this world have, because they're worshipped and so mercurial, all of the gods have different gendered aspects as well, where they will usually, but not always, appear to different people with different genders and like things that match their followers, though not necessarily. For instance, like Kaya like sees Osmaldus as male for her, so Osmaldus appears as a male for her.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought you said him.
No, Kaya sees Osmaldus as not having a gender because she sees them as being knowledge, which
Okay, there
is
you go.
genderless.
Yeah. Okay, so like for instance, in Kaya, that's on me. In Kaya's particular instance, Osmaldus does not have a gender, which I would argue none of the gods have a true actual gender, except for the ones that generally choose to appear and be represented in a certain way.
Yeah, there are some people who would prefer to be confronted by a female over a male and whatnot.
Like the two gods of
That's my favorite word
yeah.
today. Whatnot.
The two gods of magic, for instance, are usually going to be portrayed as feminine, in using she/her pronouns, but not necessarily always. Just a majority of the time, depending on who follows them and what they believe and how they see the deity. Who rolled second highest? I'm so sorry.
What? So, are we just doing a flat roll?
Yeah, just a flat roll.
Okay,
I got a 7, so...
Oh no, Rowan.
Oh no!
I got a 9, so that's why I was asking.
Alright,
Okay.
Reese, go.
Reese, introduce your character.
Okay. So, I am playing a level 3 bard named Lois. This is the first time I've ever played a bard.
What race and subclass are you?
He is just a male human, and the subclass is College of Glamour, which is essentially you learn your music / magic from the Fae, or you want to be a pop star.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he is chaotic neutral.
And who is the god that you mostly subscribe to?
He mostly subscribes to Sylph. And
Do you want to get into your backstory a little bit there?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lois is trying to be a pop star. He calls himself, for those he's trying to be the pop star of the world, Lucky Starlight.
Okay, for the audience, I was fully not aware that Reese had prepared a pop star pseudonym for their D&D character, and I have been fully obliterated.
I asked y'all, hey, which one sounds like a good one? I said it in the chat, but
I'm
Lucky
dying.
Starlight. But his background is charlatan, because he was kind of the street musicians that would swindle you and hustle you for all your money's worth. If I was able to pick more than one background, I would also pick street urchin, but I'm not, so I chose charlatan. And essentially what happened was, around the age of 15 or 16, he saw this very gorgeous fae, and he tried to swindle them. And then it turned out that this was not just regular fae. This was Sylph. He done made a bad move.
Sylph is the deity of nature, music, and strong emotions. They generally appear as this winged archfey of like this beautiful mercurial figure that has these huge, wonderful butterfly or moth wings and these long antennae that they've kind of swept back and formed like a laurel crown. The Church of Sylph has a myth where, according to them, Sylph was originally a minor archfey that served in the court of the Elvish pantheon, and for whatever reason, when the Elvish pantheon was killed and slain and the survivors fled, Sylph was unharmed and very quickly absorbed their domains and rose to godhood, and as such, Sylph is also worshipped as the god of ambition. If you want to think about like a shorthand for them, think about a mix between Aphrodite from Greek mythology and Loki from Norse mythology. That's kind of their deal.
But essentially after this, Sylph kind of was like, that's a bad move.
Sylph admired the hustle, but also trying to con a deity is never like a cool, smart decision you made.
Yeah, and kind of just adopted him, essentially.
Yeah, and ever since then, Lois has been receiving music and con man lessons from various fae that Sylph sends his way.
Do you want the description of Lois now?
Please tell me what this pop star looks like.
Okay. So, Lois has somewhat tan skin with freckles across the bridge of his nose. His hair is a very... when someone's dyed their blonde hair purple, but it's fading back to the blonde a bit, but it's still purple.
Lavender.
Thank you. My mind, but it's not exactly that, because it like still has some of the blonde. So it looks kind of weird. It's like a kind of a gradient. That's the best way I can describe it. In a very long braid. He has large hoop earrings and golden necklaces. He has an eyebrow piercing, and he is very much in touch with his feminine side and doesn't care. He likes being a pretty boy.
Yeah. Rowan, would you like to introduce your character?
All right. I am playing a moon elf, which is a subset of high elf. A moon elf rogue named Jerusalem Estierl. And Jerusalem
I'm going to pronounce your last name wrong a lot, and I'm sorry.
It's spelled like how it sounds. Estierl.
Estierl. Okay.
Yes. And Jerusalem comes from a family that basically runs a lot like the mafia. They're a very rich, noble family, so his background is the noble. And they've built kind of a lot of businesses that they kind of own the names or stocks in, and they're a very successful family, and they keep a lot of their success doing some kind of shady business as well, some assassinations, some bribery, all that stuff on the down low. And because of that, the STRL family is very much about loyalty to each other. They have to make sure everyone's on board so they can keep their secrets and make sure they know who to trust. If you hurt any of them, it hurts, like, they'll hold a grudge against anyone forever if you hurt anyone in their family.
Dope.
Jerusalem is lawful evil.
Ooh boy.
And that's actually not because of the mafia background. It's just Jerusalem. Jerusalem happens to have kind of a god complex.
Oh no!
Oh boy.
Where he thinks the world revolves around him, and that he is the most important, and that he deserves everything. The funny thing is, most of his family is not like that. It's just him.
Oh.
And because of that, his family, the STRL family, is aligned with the couple because connection and family is so important to them, having this close-knit tie with the other members of their family. So he's also sort of aligned with the couple. He sees the couple very much as, like, parents. I don't know if he's had any actual interaction with the couple, but that's just how he would perceive them. Like...
What does Jerusalem look like? I don't think we got this with Lois either. I would love a character description of both of you.
Jerusalem is... so he's a moon elf, so he has a lot of, like, blue tones. He's got kind of, like, light gray, bluish skin. His eyes are dark blue. His hair is, like, steely gray. He wears a lot of nice clothing. Yeah, and... Oh, here's another thing I forgot to mention. His goal is to gain a bunch of wealth, but petty thievery is not the way to do it. He's out for a big cash grab.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Should I explain why?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we'll probably also cover this in episode 1 as well. The STRL family has a big family fortune, and it goes to whoever has the most money at the time. So currently that is Jerusalem's parents. And whenever they decide that they don't want to manage the family fortune anymore, they'll pass it on to whoever has the next largest fortune, so they can keep adding to the overall inheritance. As of that, Jerusalem is not even close to being next in line. He's got 2 older siblings and an uncle who are in line before him. And actually, I drew out the family tree. There's also some cousins plus grandparents who would be in line before Jerusalem, purely because...
Which is pretty unusual for elves, since elves have such a low birth rate.
Yeah. Well, they have a low birth rate, but, like, they don't die that quickly, so there's a decent amount of...
they generally live around, 800 years.
There's a decent amount of grandparents. Yeah. The only reason Jerusalem is so far, so far off the list of who's going to get the inheritance next is because no one thinks he's responsible enough to take care of the fortune. He doesn't have very much fortune right now, and yes, that's, their whole thing, but he knows that even if he were to get the money, he'd have to do something else to prove his worth. He'd have to go above and beyond.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
But he still thinks he deserves it. He just thinks they're being unreasonable.
And a real quick description of the couple. The couple is this a pair of dual gods that are so inseparable that they basically become one and are like known as one. Like as I said earlier, they are the deity that represents love, family, civilization, and fertility. The myth of their church is that originally they were two minor gods in different pantheons, and when their original families were killed or left, they found each other in the results and fell in love and decided to be together despite being from different pantheons originally. And basically, the concept of this adventuring party is it's a small adventuring guild / business that Jerusalem has started in order to make money. And Lois and Kaya are Jerusalem's employees. And you've recently moved into the city of Xandria, which is a grayscale city near the Red Isles. Because it is this massive port city near the ocean, it gets a bunch of trade from the Red Isles, and it's like a great spot to find work for people that fancy themselves to be adventurers. And as for like the state of the world as it is, imagine this massive continent filled with like these 6 major kingdoms that almost every single race subscribes to. Each race's culture has been radically changed and altered by this war that's left these ruins across the continent that are now these incredible dungeons for various adventurers to dive into and strip for all their worth. And when
exactly
we pick up,
what we're gonna do.
which is exactly what you're going to do. And so when we pick up, the world will be going through yet another massive undertaking in the wake of this not an undertaking, but another massive change in the wake of this massive war that is going to put all of the factions at odds against each other as the gods start making moves to change the world.
Sounds so cool.
Lovely.
A little concerned about that, but it's cool. It's cool.
I don't know if I want this in the recording, but I will say, Reese, I already told you what it was that is going to be the main thing. You know what? Like, if y'all don't want spoilers, just like plug your ears real quick, I guess. But it's going to be revealed in episode 1 really soon anyway. But very recently, it was revealed that the deity Sylph had a dalliance. Anyway, she and a demon lord got together and had a child, and that child is a brand new race of sapient 4-foot-tall moth people that are now just in the world. And no one is happy about it.
Gotta love Lois's adopted mom creating a whole new game, a whole new race.
Yeah, Sylph decided to create a whole new race. And also there's gonna be like weird breakup drama between Sylph and the Demon Lord. It's gonna be great. It's fine.
Yes.
So yeah, that'll be where things start. Oh my gosh, we forgot your frog butler.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, it's fine. For the audience, Jerusalem has a frog butler,
and
which has been provided.
Forgot. That was not something
by
I
their
created.
family. Okay, I think that's everything.
I don't know. Is there anything else we want to?
We went over the factions.
Do we want to do some meta knowledge on our characters, or? I don't know if any
Sure,
of our
what are you
fans
thinking
are
of?
very, more into the technical side of D&D.
Um,
Are you gonna talk about your con and
No,
your
yeah.
health?
I mean, I figured we could bring up the fact that we're starting at level 3, and...
Yeah.
well, yeah, but
Please tell us about your health.
please.
Everyone's getting on my case because my level 3 rogue only has 17 hit points.
It's so bad. It
is so bad.
It's a joke. I'm gonna murder you so fast.
Anyway.
Like,
I have 34. I literally have double what you have.
I have, I think it's 21. Let me double check.
21, yeah.
Yeah. At least both Jamie and I have healing.
Yeah, we're gonna be keeping you
Yep,
alive.
I'm ready to roll those death saves.
But I can't say it is 100% in character for Lois to do that because he's going to make sure his investment on Jerusalem to get that money is still there.
Yeah.
Do we want to go over how everyone met, or are we doing that in the first episode?
How did we meet?
That would be a good... Yeah, let's go over how you guys met.
Okay.
Like, with Jerusalem and Kaya, I feel like Kaya was probably hired for a few family things, family meetings and all that. Just like, so Jerusalem kind of knew Kaya through assimilation.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to connect the two would be through Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Jerusalem likely met Kaya as a bodyguard for his parents at some point.
Like your parents, yeah.
I'd say Jerusalem probably met Lois just
Lois?
out on the streets. And Lois did his...
Tried to grift each other.
Tried to swindle 1.1. 101.
And Lois probably started his whole, con man spiel and then realized that, he could get a whole lot more out of Jerusalem.
Honestly, yeah. Instead of stealing him for all his money's worth, I will befriend him and then steal him for all his money's worth.
Hey man, give me your money. Oh, you don't have money? Oh, you want money? I want money too. Let's go get money.
Okay, yeah, but he wouldn't do it that. He's a much more charismatic.
I'm just saying, that's the basic of what happened.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's overall essentially what happened.
Man, hey, you want money?
I
I
want
want
money.
money. We've got so much in common.
Kaya's the
Yeah.
only one out here that doesn't want money.
She's just in it for the knowledge, and
Yeah.
she's with these.
Kaya's here to whack you two with a newspaper. Going back to mechanics and whatnot, Kaya is... she's packing a lot. She's carrying a two-handed glaive, a scimitar, and 5 javelins.
Lois has several things. He carries so much on his person. He has his Aurora, his instrument of choice. And no, I'm not saying what that is because I haven't figured it out yet. I should, but I haven't.
You named
I
it,
don't-
but you don't know what it is?
Yeah, when you said instrument of choice, my first initial thought was your dick.
Hey, no.
No. No. He has more class than that. He's not gonna name his dick. He was practically raised by Sylph. He has
But
more.
Reese, you're a bard.
Yeah, that's why he's called Lucky Starlight. And I forgot to add in his description, he has little star pattern, I don't know if it's makeup or tattoos on his face, on his cheeks.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he has freckles on his shoulders and all that. The freckles are natural. He got stuff on his face that he put there. I don't know if it's tattooed or what, but
I mean, cool. Kaya's down with tattoos. She's got tattoos.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone has to go over or would like to? Does anyone have any questions?
How are we... is there anything we need to prep before we start the next session? Are we going to be planning what we're doing? Will you have a quest ready for us?
I will have a quest ready for us. When we start in episode 1, you will be new arrivals into the city of Xandria. And you will have already set up your small guild. And I will let you guys describe what you want your base of operations to look like. And I will have...
We have a base?
Yeah, a small base. You have a very tiny guild hall that you were able to buy. You've just arrived in town relatively recently. I'm gonna have some scenes where I introduce the characters, their contacts, what their deal is, and then I'll be introducing our very first little quest. I just want to go over the pillar one more time and in a little bit more in depth, and then we can wrap up and be done. Okay, so like I said before, the people of this world view the planar system similar to the world tree, where they think of all of the different planes of reality as stacked on top of each other and layered in this massive big pillar, where each different plane is a layer or a floor of the pillar. And at the very center, you have the prime material plane, also known as Almora. And if you go up, you reach the realm of Fae, which people who know D&D lore recognize as the Fae Wild. This is a reflection of the material plane that's more magical and strange and mysterious. It's a little bit more influenced by positive energy in the strong emotions. And the beings, while they're not full conceptual beings, they're like the people and creatures that are born in the Fae, in the realm of Fae, are like half metaphors, where there are archfae that represent things, and while they're not technically gods or elementals that fully embody these ideas, they're still representatives of them. There's like fae that represent summer and all sorts of things, and there's like a lantern that can change their forms between the different seasons, and they're like beings that are more in tune with representing emotions or types of magic than like a human being, which is just like a fully physical, non-representative being. Above the realm of Fae is the realm of ideals, which is a realm of full metaphor beings that are still like simple and are not like entirely grand, but is also more influenced by like positive, strong magical energy. So this entire plane is broken up into these different like nations and lands that are all representative of different elements and things that make up the world. So it's kind of like the elemental chaos in that respect, where there's an area that's just fire, there's an area that's just about wind, there's an area that's just about earth, there's an area that's just about water. It's a lot like the elemental chaos like that. They have the semi-elemental and the quasi-elemental realms inside, where like there's a realm that is ash that represents ash and smoke. There's a realm of ice. There's a realm of like lava and magma. There's a realm of ooze and mud and slime and stuff like that. And then as you go deeper towards the center, you get more and more specific realms and beings that are like full metaphors, like the realm of steam, the realm of lightning, the realm of salt, the realm of minerals, etc. And then once you reach the very center, they're the realms that are like gravity elementals, law elementals, chaos elementals, light elementals, beings that represent such fundamental, specific, like physics of how the world works, that they're elementals of things that are like more specific than just like the average elementals that you get in what D&D gives you. And then above that is the realm that is simply just referred to as the highest, which is the celestial plane, which is the realm of full positive energy and beings that represent massive, complex ideas and domains that they stand in for and that they represent fully, which would be the gods. And each god has a different realm inside of the highest, where they've made their own personal heaven. that each god it has their own angels and their own divine celestial servants, and when a beloved mortal of a god dies and is sent to the afterlife to be judged by Enoch, a god will step in and like root for them and ask for them, and then that soul will be sent up to that deity's specific realm of the highest. And these realms are always interacting with each other, exchanging angels, exchanging spirits of like good mortals and stuff like that all the time. And that's what going up on the pillar looks like. And heading down from Almora, you get the Realm of Shadow, which is known in like D&D lore as the Shadowfell. This is like a darker, more pale reflection of Almora and the material plane. It's the material plane, but a little bit more tilted towards negative energy, the lack of life, and beings that aren't conceptual and are being broken down by that. So this is where you get things that are like not true representative of what they are, like monsters that are like two animals like smashed together. Like this is where owl bears come from. This is where undead come from. This is where the curse of lycanthropy, like where werewolves come from, because these curses of like lycanthropy and vampirism break down what you are conceptually as a mortal being. Underneath the Realm of Shadow is the Realm of Death, also known as the Realm of the Afterlife. This is a dark, empty plane that fully is representative of like the lack of energy and the lack of life. This is where the young child god Enoch looks after the dead. When you die, your soul goes to the Realm of Death, and Enoch judges you. Because Enoch is a very young, very like baby deity, Enoch is not known as a harsh judge or like a punisher of souls. When you die, you hang out in the void with a baby. That's what happens in this world. If you were particularly good or beloved by a certain god, they will come down and they will get you. If you're done living and you would like to be done and dead, but you haven't been chosen by a god, you reside in the realm of the afterlife as a spirit with Enoch for the rest of eternity. If you would like to continue living and you want to go, Enoch reincarnates you and you are born again on the material plane and you get to keep going without memories of your previous life. If you're really, really bad, if you were truly just a terrible person, or you have pissed off a god in particular, Enoch will hurl you down a layer into the realm that is simply referred to as the lowest. This is the plane that is fully representative of negative energy, non-conceptual beings. This is like hell. This is where fiends are from. This is where the devils live, the demons live, and the Yugoloths live. In this horrible, like, nightmare space that is constantly always sending these forces on this river of blood up the pillar. They're constantly climbing the pillar, trying to reach the highest and tear them down.
That's beautiful.
I'll be honest, I got so into your, like, just storytelling that I forgot we were even recording or in a call until Reese made a noise, and I was like, oh, right, we're doing a show.
So yeah, I myself am very interested in extraplanar D&D. Oh, also, just very briefly, the ethereal plane also exists in this world as like a layer of the pillar that overlaps all of them, and the astral plane exists outside of the pillar. So those two areas do exist too, because by D&D laws they have to, or else some spells just don't work. They don't make sense.
I will say the plane of ooze not existing makes me sad.
No, the plane of ooze exists.
Reasons.
It's just not a plane.
It does.
It's just a space in the realm of ideals. It is
okay.
It is the area of the realm of ideals that represents the ideal of mud, ooze, slime, that sort of stuff.
Okay. For personal reasons, I wanted it there, so I'm glad.
Yeah, personally, just me, I'm really interested in extraplanar D&D, and so I wanted the cosmology and the different planes to be very important to the world and be a thing that the players could interact with. So literally, all of the worlds are layered on top of each other in like a game of like chutes and ladders, where each world has thin points where you can slip down to the plane below or the plane above, like climbing or descending a ladder. But like a game of chutes and ladders, different planes will have very specific shortcuts where if you take a wrong turn on the material plane, you might drop right past the Shadowfell and right past the Realm of Death and just into the lowest. And you did bad. Or
Vibe check.
yeah. Or similar to going up. If you go into the right area of the Fae, maybe you skip right over the Realm of Ideas and you just ride right up into the highest. Stuff like
You've
that.
passed the vibe check.
Yeah. It's like a matter of geography and like literally moving up and down this big tube of worlds.
Nice. I will say I'm very, I already said I'm excited, but now that we have more information, I'm very excited.
I'm glad. I've been working really hard on world building for you guys, and this is the summed up, like, broken down version.
I know.
Yeah.
I
know, you give us all these documents and then we never end up reading them.
Because they're so long!
They're for me. They're for my notes.
Yeah.
You set up for a huge campaign. This is not a one-shot.
It is not a one-shot. It never was a one-shot.
Yeah, it was like...
I know, but it's not going to be short in general.
No.
I
I didn't expect it. It's Riley.
Yeah, it's Riley. Nothing's
I
ever
always
short.
set up my campaigns to be multiple seasons, so if we ever get tired of it, I know they're long and there's a lot I want to get to, so I always set it up so that there can be a season 2. Like, we can leave for a bit and we can come back. It's what I was setting up with Eden's Grove. Just Eden's Grove became less fun to do because of the coronavirus, and it was like in a darker, less fun place where we left it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why we're doing things like patrons and a D&D game that's like high fantasy, high adventure, stuff like that.
And in a world that's basically doing its own revival from its own apocalypse.
Yeah, it's not
we aren't facing the apocalypse, it already happened.
Yeah, literally there's a party of adventurers that rule over the lowest. There's like level 20 plus adventurers down there that is like just ruling hell. Because they did their we want to play an evil campaign, and they went down and they D&D lore has a group of gods that I really like. That basically the backstory for these 3 gods were that they were evil adventurers who grew so powerful that at the end of their adventure that they just became like evil gods. Like, that was their goal. And now they're just like evil gods forever. Personally, I like to think that this was like a real campaign that Gary Gygax ran at some point for like some people, and liked the evil campaign so much that he just decided to like include it in the world lore because of how specific and how evil campaign formula it sounds. And so that was kind of my inspiration for like this group of 4 adventurers that looked at each other and they were like, what if we went and we killed Satan, but then twist, we were Satan? What if we did that? And then they did.
And then they did.
I'm really glad that Rowan enjoyed me talking about the cosmology of this world.
It's really good.
It is very good, Riley. You are, as always, are a phenomenal storyteller and get us hyped.
Yeah, thank you. I really like
yeah,
that.
So, especially considering how much time you took on this too.
Oh my gosh.
I have more notes on my phone than all the documents you are looking at in the Google Doc folder that I shared.
Oh my
Riley!
gosh.
I talk about denominational disagreements inside the churches, not just between the different nations, because the different nations have different interpretations of the gods, but also denominational disagreements within the church
Oh yeah.
and in a nation. Like, there are two different orders of human paladins from Libitina that worship Godric, and they hate each other. Because they both believe that they are worshiping Godric the right way, and that the other group is not. And they are forced to work together because they're inside the same nation, and they're both part of the nation's army. But they're not friends. Like, stuff like that.
And just so you, the audience, know, Riley sends these things into our chats.
Mhm.
So we get, like, tidbits.
I do my
of
best to
these.
keep people informed.
Riley's very bad at not spoiling his own campaigns, too, I will say.
I've done my best to not, like, reveal the missions or the plot hooks or anything like that, but I will say that I did reveal ahead of time that Sylph and a demon lord had a messy hookup, which resulted in moth people, and then they broke up about it, and it's put the entirety of the planet in a weird, awkward situation.
Yeah.
You know, just episode 1 stuff.
Yeah, episode 1 stuff. Oops, there's moth people now.
Yep.
Oops, all moths.
Our mascot of the podcast is
A
Mothman. So
Yeah.
I figured we should put Mothman in not every season we do,
As
but
many as
a
we
lot
can.
of seasons we do.
Yeah.
I've been thinking of
Which is exactly what I
I've
wanted.
been thinking of moth mechs for bypass system.
Oh
Riley,
my
no.
gosh. Yes.
But
yes.
right now we're focusing on D&D.
It should. I was about to start brainstorming. I was going to be like, it should be its own, like, secret agent division.
Yes.
Where they have new secret forces, and everyone.
Anyway.
Dream Max.
Guys, this is for D&D, not bypass.
Yes, I know.
Man, guys, let's go back to bypass system.
It was a
Riley.
choice between D&D, like a new D&D campaign, or going back to bypass system. And we were tired of one-shots, and I wanted to do a few more world-building, establishing one-shots before we went back to bypass system. So I think the next campaign and the next season I run will be bypass system for sure. And then after that, I'm out of campaigns that I want to run.
Yeah, the rest of us do have campaign ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not the lunch break. Let's not cover our other campaigns.
It warms my heart so much how much you guys love me talking for half an hour about world building. Thank you for being my friends.
Hey Mark Experience listeners, it's end credits time. I know you love hearing this part, but I like to remind you guys that you can find us on Tumblr, Instagram, and even TikTok. And if you like to buy the music, you can buy it all at markexperience.bandcamp.com. We also have a constantly growing collection of merch at redbubble.com/people/mark-experience, where you can buy posters and shirts and stickers and all that. If you want to support your favorite editor and musician, you can head over to my Ko-fi account at ko-fi.com/Jamie Remy. That's spelled JAMIEREMY. Mark Experience can be located basically anywhere podcasts exist now, so you can listen wherever's easiest. See you next episode!